Society told us you're old, sit back, be quiet. I mean, think about when you were a little girl. For me, it was the same way. It's like, you're being too much. You're not enough. We hear this
Mhm.
over and over and over. So we kind of take on that role. So what I've done, and I feel like it's really empowered me to keep showing up, but it's also showing other women like, hey, you might be being told by someone you really love that you aren't enough or you're not beautiful or whatever.
Mhm.
So am I, but I'm getting it in a different way and you're not alone. And here's what you do. You don't sit back and you take it.
Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast, the podcast where we debunk the eat less, move more, shrink more mentality and focus on what really matters, which includes your relationship with your body, food, self-worth, and the behaviors that align with all of those. I'm your host, Christina Hathaway, licensed therapist with specialized training in food and body obsession, certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. At the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast, we believe what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. So let's have a conversation about that. Before we get into today's episode, I want to make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Also, if you don't want to miss any content that's being dropped, make sure you hit that notification bell as well. I also want to know who are the people you want to hear from on this show and what topics would you like me to continue to cover. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now, let's get into the episode. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection. I am so excited about my interview today. My interview is with Lauren Hale, someone that I have followed on TikTok who is gracing us with her knowledge around makeup over 40. Lauren, who is a kindergarten teacher, is turned into a mature beauty influencer. Her goal is to teach women over 40 how to make their makeup work for their needs instead of trying to make their skin work with trends for 20-year-olds. She has over 800,000 followers on her social media platforms, and her work has been seen and featured on Good Morning America, the New York Post, and the Daily Sun. She can now add published author, we love that for her, to her list as well. She lives in Idaho with her best friend and husband, Nick, and their 3 teenagers who keep them busy traveling all over the Northwest for a truly outstanding number of sports tournaments. All y'all can relate to that. Her book is called Girl, Put Your Lipstick On. The World Needs You. I'm so excited for this interview. So let's welcome Lauren. Welcome, Lauren. I'm so excited to have you here. For those who are listening, I have followed her for a long time. I don't even know how long on TikTok and watched everything you were doing in regards to makeup. And I have literally put it in practice. So this is like fangirl almost moment.
Oh, you're so sweet. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for asking me. This is such an honor.
Yes, absolutely. I know that a lot of our listeners are going to benefit from this in so many ways, not just in regards to makeup, but just your story. And I want to hear about your book. I want to hear everything. So, and this is why I have a podcast because I'm nosy and I want to know everything.
I love it. I love it.
I love it. In the intro, I talked about you kind of coming from being a teacher and then moving into this mature beauty influencer space. I love to just start there. Like, how did we get here? What's your story?
It is a long story, but I won't bore you with every detail.
We got time, girl.
Okay, good. And I like to talk. So,
Perfect.
okay, so basically my dream job was to be a teacher. And so my mom was a teacher and I just decided like that's what I always wanted to be from a young girl. So I became a teacher. I worked with children with special needs and I went into a kindergarten teaching position and I loved it. It was my favorite. But along the way I had 3 kids and they were young and I felt like I was teaching other people's kids instead of being with my own children. Like I'd come home and have given all of my good self to everyone else but my own children. And I didn't like the version of who I was becoming, to be really honest. And my husband, who's in the medical field, he was working 70-hour weeks. It was just chaos. Like 3 kids under the age of, gosh, I think it was like 10 at that time. And it was a lot. And so one day I was like, I love what I'm doing, but I feel I've always been like very creative. And I just felt like there was always something more. I had tried like starting these side businesses and it just wasn't working. Like, that always came with teaching, but it was always taking me away from my family to be able to run that business. And so I love, love, love beauty. I always have. But what I really realized, I was almost 40 at the time when I decided to start showing up online. And I realized like no one was showing anything for our age. Like I watched 20-year-old influencers. They would put a filter on and then I would, not knowing any different, be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go try these makeup products and I'm going to go like spend my hard-earned money on these makeup products. I bring them home and they just didn't work. And it was so frustrating. So I got to a point where I was like, do I just not wear makeup anymore? Am I old? And that's like what just happens. And so I kind of made it a mission to start showing up, and I found some things that were working for me and didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew I could teach. I knew I could make things really simple. And I don't ever believe that you have to have this beauty makeup knowledge to teach anything. It's just like simple things, because let's be honest, in our 40s, our 50s, our 60s, we just are like, we want to still look good and feel good about
Yes.
ourselves, but we don't want to spend hours like maybe when I was in my 20s, I was doing. I don't have time for that. It doesn't
Correct.
look the same, right? And so, anyways, I just started showing up and I started sharing like simple tips and just making it very, very easy. I started without a filter, which was scary. And it's kind of so funny that I say that now, because now I'll show up like fresh out of bed and I don't even care what it looks
I
like.
love that. The authenticity is what makes it so good.
Yes, yes.
Love
And
that.
I think along the way I had to learn that, right? Like I was called old, I was called ugly, all these different
Gosh.
things, and I think women need to hear that unfortunately is normalized in our society. I know you kind of wanted to go into that later, but anyway, so I started online, started doing that. It kind of took off. And I'm very shy. Like I was not outgoing. I was very shy. For me to show up on camera was scary. Like
Really?
old videos and like my voice is quiet and I was just nervous. And, so along the way, I had to learn a lot of things. I didn't even know how to make a Facebook status. So I started at 300 followers.
I love it.
And it's grown from there. And so I realized like along the way, not only was I getting time with my children and I could work within pockets of that, I was showing my daughter that like you can love who you are authentically. I was showing my kids how to pivot at any moment, doesn't matter how old you are. That's really important to me. And then I also realized I was helping a lot of women along the way. And that was my whole point to ever starting, is I just wanted other women to feel seen, because I didn't feel like we were seen in our age group. So
I love that. I love that in so many ways because, on this podcast, mindset mirror. So, what we say in our mind, we see in the mirror is the slogan. And you being able to say, like, I love this job. I love being a teacher, but also I can look inward and outward at my kiddos and see how the time away is affecting them. And it wasn't just, okay, I give up now. It's like, no, that pivot, that flexibility is so important. And like you said, recognizing it at any age, literally, I have on my screen, it says the average age of a business founder is 45. The average age of a CEO is 55. The average millionaire is 61. So sis, you're perfectly on time. Like,
I love that.
yes. And I
It's
always
so
keep,
true.
yeah, I keep stuff like that on my home screen. So I see it every day. And that's what I want women to hear is you can pivot and shift and do what makes you feel good. We just had Andrea Weiss Brown, who is a therapist, and her whole focus is passion and purpose. And she said, what makes you happy if you never got paid for it? What would you do? And I
My
hear
parents
you
said
say
that
that.
to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
my parents always said that to me growing up. They always believed like money is abundance. And if you're not doing what you enjoy, like what is money? Like you're not enjoying life. Like we're all here, I feel like, for a purpose. And if we're not spreading that to other people, like what's the point? So
Yes. It's funny you say that. I read this book called 101 Essays to Change the Way You Think. And I stopped reading it for a while because I was reading something else. And today's was literally about that. About not, it was, no, I'm sorry. It wasn't that. It was Gabby Bernstein's podcast, actually. Lots of self help in the mornings. And she said that exact thing. She said, instead of, and she was talking about like changing your thinking, instead of looking at like, oh, I'm not making enough money or this and that. She was talking about, I get to do something that helps someone today, or like you said, and where you've built yourself, and I've done this as well, is like we get to share a gift
yeah.
with people and it's fun and it's empowering. And that's exactly why I'm like, I know she's on my team, as I call it, my team of women who are here to help other women in a way that has nothing to do with what society tells us.
Yes.
And let's just go into that because, like,
Okay.
I think that's a huge part of this. And I didn't even think about that when we were emailing back and forth. Talk to me about the, putting yourself out there part of it. And then I also want to know, like, that side of things, but then also how has your own image and like confidence in yourself changed through this process, because it is, you're kind of, you're a sitting duck, if you will, very
Yeah.
vulnerable.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
So I think like showing up for me was really scary. Like I remember, like I said, I was really shy. I'm from a small town. So my first thought was like, what are people going to think about me? Because now I'm doing something totally different than anyone
Mhm.
probably would have ever thought. So all this self-doubt comes into play when you decide to do something for you. And I think that's really important to admit because I don't think we always see people's end game or their middle. We don't see like the messy beginning.
Mhm.
And I always tell people, I'm like, listen, if you're following your joy, it might look a little messy along the way because you have to find yourself along the way. You might know what brings you joy, but you might not be where you need to be to give that to others, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And so for me, it was like I was such a people pleaser. And it was so, I didn't have confidence. I wasn't surrounded with a group of women that believed in me. I was
Mm.
surrounded by a group of women that only cared what other people thought about them. So, like, it was like you left the table and you knew you were the one being talked about. I was in that group. So, I didn't have the confidence, but I knew that it was in there. Like, I think that's the
Yeah.
starting point. You know, it's there. It's just like I didn't like who I was. And so I knew I needed to find myself in the process. So it took a long time to get there, but I think showing up every single day was the hardest part. So like turning on the camera, I remember the first live I did and like being so embarrassed and there's two people on there, but to me that was a big deal. Like
Mhm.
those moments, just doing them every single day, something little towards your goal is what like literally ultimately helps you
Yeah.
get to where you want to be. So that was like my biggest thing is like just keep showing up. And the
Mhm.
version of me was different, right? Because as I started to show up, I got more confidence. Maybe some days I didn't have the confidence, but for me, it's always been authentic. So I kind of shown up like, get out of bed. I look horrible, but like, I don't care what this is. I care about what's radiating inside. And so if I
Mhm.
could show up and have a bad day and express that on camera, or the perimenopause stuff was really hard for me because I didn't have women in my group that were my age that were going through it. I felt really alone. And it was scary to show up and talk about that. But I've noticed that as we women show up and we talk about the hard things, it
Mhm.
really does help women feel seen. And so for me, it's just that journey of showing up every single day and
Yeah.
you get over all the other stuff, if that makes sense. So,
It's so true. A lot of people want to lean on like motivation and discipline and this, and sometimes it's just putting your feet on the ground and getting up and
yeah.
going and doing the thing. There are plenty of times when I've, been struggling in myself and wanted to give up or didn't have as many likes on, this amazing post or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm saying, look, you've put all of this effort into this. You're going to see the outcome that you desire. You just need to be patient,
Yeah.
right? But so many people don't see that progress and they give up. But like that's such a great point. Like just being able to do it every day, put in the reps, you're going to build more confidence, which ultimately is going to help even. I know this isn't about the aesthetic, not aesthetics, but the presentation side of things, but you're just going to appear more
Yeah.
knowledgeable
Yeah.
and confident,
Mhm.
and a confident, knowledgeable person who's also obviously likable, I'm going
Yeah.
to pay attention to you. And
Yeah.
so that's such a great lesson for our listeners to hear. Sometimes it's literally just doing the thing you don't want to do, but doing it consistently. And
Yeah.
eventually it becomes the thing that's so easy and like your default at that point.
It does. And my husband always said this to me because I remember there's so many times I doubted myself and I didn't want to show up. And I think that's important to say too, because
Mhm.
I know when I look on Instagram and I look at people and I'm like, why is my content not like that? And I still compare. I don't care if you have
Yes.
100 followers, 10 followers, a million followers, you still have that self-doubt that creeps
Mhm.
in. But I remember my husband always said, trust the process, not the outcome, because you don't understand the outcome. You don't know what you're here for, really. Like
Yep.
how I started out was never where I am thought I would be now. And you don't know what that's going to be. So just keep trusting that process. Show up messy. Like I remember I had affirmations. My husband would write affirmations like, you were brave, you can
Mhm.
do hard things and you put them over the mirror. When I didn't believe in myself, until I started to believe in myself. And it really
Mhm.
is that process. You don't just
Mhm.
start one day and just believe in yourself. It's
No.
really a process.
Absolutely. You know what drives my clients absolutely crazy is they're eating clean and doing all the workouts, but they don't see the weight budge. Their sleep is all over the place. Their hormones are through the roof, and they feel like they're going crazy.
Yeah, it's frustrating because 9 out of 10 times it's something hormone related that no one's looking at. It's perimenopause, menopause. Our biology internally has shifted, but no one's changing the strategy as far as approach.
What if perimenopause support included like therapeutic guidance, nutrition, exercise, and hormonal support all in one place?
Seriously, it would be great if you didn't have to track down like 10 different experts just to feel like yourself again.
That's why I created the Mindset of Menopause and have partnered with Dr. Jordan Trapp to create a comprehensive plan to your hormonal health.
Together, we are making medical insight meet emotional strategy. So your symptoms make sense, your plan actually works, and your power comes back online.
This isn't just support. This is your comeback season.
Click below for more information.
I love that because you can't see it. So this side is where I record, this side is my office. And I literally have my vision boards from 10, 12 years ago. And then there's like one for every couple of years. And I would just look at those and just say, this is what I want. I'm going to keep going. And like you said, the outcome was I never knew what the outcome was going to be. Even reaching out to you, you know, it just, like I said, I saw that I had already seen all of your videos, but that one stood out to me and I looked down and I'm like, ding, just reach out to her. It's messy. And I have had PR, like a PR team reach out to people where it's clean and pretty.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's actually just the, hey girl, I love your
I
stuff.
respond better to that 100 times than
Yeah, just being that authentic part of you and, you know, like you said, believing in yourself. That's such a huge message because I have clients going through things like IVF that really struggle with that. And we really work on, you know, I know this is a struggle and I know it's daunting to go through it, but let's try to keep your mind as positive as we can, even in the hard times. Interesting. I had one just text me today that she had the most egg retrieval that she's had in the whole process, which is awesome. But yeah, the mindset work is so important. And I love, it sounds like you're really supported. Your husband, you talked about your parents. That's wonderful.
I am. I mean, honestly, is so blessed. My husband and I have been married, gosh, we're going on, is it 24 years this year?
Wow.
All days, actually. Yeah.
Amazing.
I've known him since I was 19. So he's like my best friend. And
when's your anniversary real quick?
June 29th.
Okay, we're July 9th. So I was like, wait a minute.
I'm like, it's close. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I think that's really important. I couldn't do that. Like he saw my vision for me, like way before I did. Like I said, I probably would have quit a long time ago if I hadn't had that support. So, and my kids are the same way. I have 3 teens and they're just like so supportive and they understand. And yeah, it's really my parents too. So yeah, I'm really
love that.
With all of that. Yeah.
Well, let's get into it because I want to hear I saw you on GMA, which congratulations. When did that happen? Because I couldn't tell what the date was.
I think it was 2022.
Wow. How was that to get the, hey, you want to come on Good Morning America and do a tutorial in front of all of America?
You know what? It's so funny because I look back and they like messaged me. I thought it was spam. And so I didn't message them back. And then they tried like messaging me on multiple platforms. And I was like, you know how you get weird messages? I was like, no. Yes. They ended up calling my husband, which I don't know how they got his number. And he was like, okay, you can call him back, but don't give a credit card information. He thought we were going to So I called him back and it was the producers and they were so nice. They flew out to my small town at my house and did this whole segment. And I was so scared, but it was funny because it was like very in the moment. It was the most in the moment I've ever been in a hard, like scary situation of totally out of my comfort zone. And I look back and I'm like, man, that was such a blur, but it was like such an amazing time. And I'm so grateful for it that they would even give someone like me the chance to do that. And it really has connected me with so many other people just through that one opportunity. So
amazing.
Yeah.
You absolutely crushed it. Like I wouldn't even have noticed, like I know you said you didn't really, it was kind of a blink and then it was done, but
It
You
was,
crushed it.
well, thank you. It was
Yes.
definitely like one of those like most amazing moments, top 5 moments in your life that you're like, oh my gosh. But yeah, and I learned from it. It was like, I remember them asking me, it was so funny. They were like, okay, we're just gonna have you like show us your setup for how you film. And I literally film on my kitchen table. I always have with a tripod. That's it. Like I don't use lighting.
Amazing.
It's all natural. And so I literally like, okay. And I grab my tripod and put it on the kitchen table. And you're like,
Yes.
is this it? I'm like, yeah, that's all I do. Like I was just
Love
like
that.
that girl that didn't know what she was doing, but like this is cool.
hmm I love it. I mean, I have a studio now, but I mean, it started off in like a room with, that had good sun
Yeah,
exposure.
yeah, exactly. Right.
It's
I mean,
great.
I think it's fun to remember like where you start too, because it just shows you don't need all the things. You just start.
Just start.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Ah, I love this so much. So talk to me. Let's talk about kind of, as you had mentioned, you were watching some of the 20-year-old influencers and trying to do what they do. Believe me, I understand that. And I'm like, how do they look so flawless? Now I know they had a filter on.
Filter.
But
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Thing going on.
Yeah, I'm like, why are there no lines in their face?
Yes,
I'm
exactly.
also 42, so
Yeah. Well,
and
you
then you're
look
like,
amazing.
thank you. I try. I don't. We'll talk all skincare too. So you're watching them, and when did it become apparent to you, like, there's got to be a better way? Like, what were the like challenges or things
Mhm.
that just weren't working out?
It's funny. I was like the matte girl, so like that's all I would buy. But that worked so good on my like 20, early 30 skin. And then
Oh yeah.
I seriously have the driest skin ever. And
Mm.
so I would try liquid foundations and all the different things. I would go buy. I was like the girl that loved the dupes. Remember when YouTube was
Mhm.
like first coming out and they would do the dupes? And you
Loved.
go buy those at like
Mhm.
Walmart or whatever. And then I would bring those home and I'd be like, you telling my friends, like, we can save so much money. Let me try these dupes on you. And I would like try them. And it was a whole
That's
thing.
so fun.
And my friends would laugh. They would be like, what did you buy now? Right. But I'm getting a deal. So, but then it just wasn't working on my skin, like my dry flakes. And I had fine lines, I had wrinkles, I had, smile lines. And
Mhm.
I wasn't seeing that in somebody else. And so I'd buy the products, spend all this hard earned money. I mean, I was a teacher, I was not making that much money, and they wouldn't work. And then it just became a frustrating situation of me just having a lot of makeup and always feeling like I had a lot of texture, wearing too much makeup to try to get the coverage. And then one day I kind of stumbled upon cream makeup, and that kind of changed everything for me because I realized
Mm.
like creams are really forgiving on the skin. And I realized at that moment, like, there are so many other products out there that we are not hearing about. And so I kind of started on this exploration of like trying new things. And I knew that if it worked on my skin, because I was like Sahara dry, it would work on a lot of women as we get older because we lose
Mhm.
that, that glow to our skin. We get a lot more dry. And so, yeah, so that's kind of how all of that kind of rolled into it. But it's been trial and error. I mean, I definitely do a lot of things where I'm like, okay, I've tried this. Do not buy this. This is not like worth your money. Like, I
Yeah.
will never forget what it was like to watch someone that I looked up to say that this is an amazing product and maybe being paid for that to sell it. And I buy it with my hard-earned money and it really wasn't great. Now, mind
Mhm.
you, I know that there are a lot of things that work for some people and not for others. So I'm not always going to buy something and love something that someone recommends. But there's always intentions behind things. And I think that I've always tried to be very careful with the things I recommend because I know how much people work and how hard money is. And then to go
Yes.
spend it on something that you're trusting somebody. I think it's a really important thing to remember. Like you have a lot of power with that, and it's not something to take lightly. People are working really hard for what they're trying to purchase. So
Yeah, and they want to feel good. They
yeah.
want to be able to wear makeup and do it in a way that again comes back to that confidence. Like we don't just, shrivel up and die when we turn 40. I actually feel like we're even more empowered and we know who we are and we
I
know
love
our
it. Yeah.
voice. And if we want to dress a certain way and wear our makeup and do all those things, then do it. I almost feel like I'm going to say something controversial that society actually causes us to end up being the mom that just,
Oh
live.
yeah.
I love a hair bun, a little top bun, but
Yeah.
that we just start losing that part of ourselves. It's almost like, oh, well, this is where you go. You go into, sweatpants hell. and that's where you live. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
So I love that you take into consideration the financial aspect of it, but you're also giving them so
Yeah.
much back and just being, again, authentic and upfront. Like, this works for me. This
Yeah.
is my skin type.
Yeah.
I'm the same way when it comes to health and wellness. Like, I am a certain body type. I naturally put on muscle easier than my friends who are, very thin, or my friends who are a little bit more round. And that's, I
Yeah.
also have a gym at my house. I work from home. Like, this is my reality. And let's figure out how to use these tools for you. And these are other options as well. And I think that, like you said, builds so much trust. And I hear a lot of like just being so genuine in, like you said, helping others. I would think that's wonderful. So talk to me about, you had mentioned cream makeup.
Yes.
Talk to me about maybe your top 3 recommendations for a lady over 40. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a product, but
Products
type of, so like, let's start with cream makeup and see where it goes from there.
Okay, so I would say Merit Beauty is amazing. You have to understand too, is I am less is more. Like I am that belief of as we age, you do not want to be piling on makeup. If you're piling on makeup, you're gonna have more texture. You can pile on makeup if you love that, but I'm saying if you want to look like you don't have all the fine lines and different things, and you're trying to wear makeup, in my opinion, to make your skin look the best it's gonna look, one, it serves as skincare, but two, more natural. So we don't want to put on really heavy things. So like that matte foundations, like no. So creams are going to be more glowy because we lose that glow to our skin. So they're going to bring back the glow to dull skin, which is very normal as we age. So Merit Beauty has some amazing products. I love them because they're stick products. So a lot of us as we get older, that dexterity is a little bit harder. The placement is a little bit harder with like taking it and trying to place it, but a stick just makes everything really easy. So Merit Beauty is really great. I think it's definitely worth the price. And I think that the cream is very beautiful on the skin. And they have a ton of shade ranges, which I think is really important. I love Saint. Saint is another one. I have used Saint forever. It's a palette. So it's like everything's in a palette. So for the busy person that's always traveling, I'm always in the car. So for me, it's like very easy and you can have everything all in one. So I have blush, bronzer, foundation
Really?
in a magnetic palette. So it's so easy. Yeah.
That's amazing.
That is my second. And then I would say, gosh, there's a company called Catrice, and you can get it on Amazon. They have a beautiful buttercream like bronzers and blushes, and they are really inexpensive. They're like $6 to $13,
Love.
and they're really good. So you don't have to spend a fortune. It's really just finding those right products. And then for like concealers and things like that, like you were saying, like under the eyes, like that's where we have to be so careful, right? Because
Yes.
it's funny because I've really embraced my under eyes a lot more than I used to, but it's because I know that I'm smiling and I'm enjoying life. And I think we have to go back to that, right? Like, yes, a lot of us hate our under eyes. We might have some dark circles, we have all those things, but it really comes back to like, what are these smile lines? Like, that means you're enjoying life. And so I do want to say that, but I would say for concealers and things like that, I still love cream for that. I think it works really, really well. Oh, and the Korean cushions are really good. Hair Tier's okay. There's one that's from a company called Bremon that's really great if you're looking for not a cream option, but you still want something coverage with lightweight formula. Those are really good. I'm really into Korean skincare because it's just plant-based and it's beautiful.
Me too.
Yes.
I got into it was a TikTok. I ended up buying Medicube.
Oh yeah, Medicube's great.
Yeah, and I talked about it on this podcast because I felt like it was actually like
Holding in the
absorbed into my and I've never felt that way before, and it's
Korean
relatively
beauty,
inexpensive.
yeah.
No.
Beauty of Joseon is inexpensive, amazing. Rimmon. Michaela, do you follow Michaela on TikTok? She's the cute. Okay, she has a new line called POV Beauty, and she just sent it to me, and it is amazing too. So Korean skincare is amazing. But putting things under your eyes to moisturize is so important, and then using a color corrector. And then going in with just a little bit of concealer. You don't need a lot anymore. I mean, we used to just put so much on. So I think it's really strategic, but it's also the formulas that you're choosing.
Well, and that was the first change that I made watching you. So I'll actually put a concealer lower down and then bring it out here and then use the residual to get under the eye. Yeah, and go up. Right. And then I also start higher on my bronzer.
Yeah.
yeah, and blush to appear like my face is going up rather than, as you mentioned, like we have to think about gravity bringing it down. So let's talk about a few of those little tips, So I've named a few, but please elaborate on them. Like placement of makeup, whereas when we were in our 20s may have been lower or darker
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
What are a few tips that you think can make the biggest like wow moment for
Yeah.
our
They're
listeners?
actually really simple. I think that's something that I always like to say. It doesn't have to be complicated. You want to use your face as a roadmap. So, like, one way is obviously not going to be for everyone, but it's really about like when you look at your face, what do you love about your face? And that's what we want to accentuate. So, when we talk about aging, I mean, we lose a lot of fullness here. And so, really trying to bring back more of a lift is really important. So, like you said, finding that cheekbone, well, it used to be we'd make that like fish face. So, it'd be down here, and we
Yes.
contour. But the problem is that when you go to put a contour, you look like a 20-year-old that does that. That's great. But you can see the angle is already making my face appear longer. So, bringing it back up to the rounded part of the cheekbone and then creating lift here. Another thing is not putting contour here. You'll see a lot of 20-year-olds bring their contour
Oh, I
here.
do that.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so real quick for people listening, we're talking about the temple forehead
Yes.
area.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we all do that. It's just normal. Like you watch people and they just bring it down, right? But we hollow here. So you lose a lot of volume right here. And if you are bringing anything dark there, you're providing yourself a shadow. Okay. Shadows are going to recede. It's just like art class, light brings forward, dark's going to recede. So what happens is that really pulls it in. So as we age anyway, we're hollowing. So you're making yourself look like Skeletor a little bit more.
Right.
So bringing your concealer into this temple area actually bumps and kind of makes the face look more proportionate, especially if you're lifting here. So if you're hollowing, you can even bring your blush onto the cheeks because that will make it look more plump. So it's really about your skin and your face and the things that you're noticing. If you're starting to get like more sunken in here, putting a little bit of concealer there is going to help.
Where? Like right here?
Yeah, right on the smile lines, right
Ah.
on the nose.
Did you teach me not to do the liner all the way over?
Yeah, liner all
Okay.
the way across the lip. Well, I have no lips whatsoever. I've never done fillers. So for me, like, and most women, they start losing this top lip. So you can even put like an illuminator or like a highlight color, like right onto the Cupid's bow, or even a bit of concealer, and that will kind of give you that like look of a lip, like an upper lip. You
Yeah,
have
like the
to line.
Botox flip.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then if you line your lip all the way to the end, right, that's going to make this appear even smaller and thinner than it is. You really want to just focus on that middle part of your lip. Yeah, there's like so many
I
little
love
tweaks
it.
that are really fun. And then when you realize it doesn't really add time to your makeup. It's just you're more strategic with your placement. And so it does a lot for you.
No, I
And
agree.
eyeshadow up a little bit higher, especially hooded eyes. We get a lot more hooded as we age. This brow bone starts coming down. We lose the arch of our brow. And so bringing that eyeshadow up a little bit higher, keeping your eyes open when you put your eyeshadow on instead of closing it so you don't lose it. There's like all these little
Yes. Okay, I have a question. So I also learned that from you. My mom, my poor mom, her eye is so droopy that
Yeah.
it's like blocking her vision. She has to get
Like the
like
lift.
the lift.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember, but she literally like and I'm like, oh gosh, do I need to worry about that? I have something to ask you. So I've used a liquid liner that's like the felt pen,
Yeah.
and I can't for the life of me not draw on liner without pulling my eye.
Yeah.
What is up with that? How do I fix that?
Well, I feel like one, we were kind of taught to do that, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. And the other thing too is as we age, like this gets kind of heavy right here in general, and we get more texture here. So naturally, it's normal to want to pull back because you get rid of the texture and it draws more of like that tightness, right? So it's
Right.
especially with liquid eyeliner, that's going to make it a little bit easier to get that. But the problem is that when you let go, then it's going to drip down, right? So we don't want to do that. There's a trick you can do with a powder. So you can actually take like a liner brush and put a little powder and stamp where you want your liner to go. And it kind of gives that kind of boundary. So you're not trying to like hold this, trying to get the line. So if you take your powder on like an eyeliner brush and you stamp where you want your eyeliner to be, then you go in with your eyeliner. You don't have to pull your eye at all at that point. And then you can just sweep the powder away and you have the perfect eyeliner every
Oh,
time.
I love that.
Like here, I do this, like I'll pull here. I'm not pulling, but I'm just kind of
I literally like
I know. I mean, every long
And I, for the life of me, couldn't figure it out. And I saw that you used the eyeliner brush with the powder. Now I'm remembering all the things. I need to like
Yeah.
write, I need to like take notes and put it in my bathroom
Yeah.
from everything I learned from
You're
you.
so
And I spray the brush
setting
and then put
spray.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I need to do that more. I forget.
But
And I
you don't
feel
even
like,
have to do that. You
okay,
literally do the same trick with your liquid liner. You don't even have to do that. So
okay.
just stamp where you want the powder to be, like where you want your eyeliner to be with the powder. And
Mhm.
then just go in and holding that eyeliner like kind of like sideways, and then you're
Mhm.
just stamping. It's just like a
I
stamp.
see.
And then when you get here, you just stamp. I always say like an extra eyelash. Just think of it like an extra
Mm.
eyelash versus like this long line or dramatic
I
anything.
don't even know how these girls do that. And
I listen, I'm so natural. I could never. My eyes would look like so small and closed up if I tried to even do anything. Like you see people do those winged eyeliners. Like, no.
yes, it's crazy. The funny thing is I am known for my Halloween makeup and
Oh
like I
yeah.
do my husband's and mine, and I'm
Love
like,
that.
I can draw all these crazy things on the face, but when it comes to my eyes, it's like I've never held an eyeliner brush before, pencil before. Another question, and this is selfish, so all you listeners, hopefully you're learning. What about, so I have very sensitive lips and
Uh-huh.
I use Gwen Stefani's line. It's a matte lip. It doesn't really come on, you can
Wow.
kind of see it. I've had this on all day, but what I noticed is when I wear something like this, you can see all the little lines. Do you do any of the lip treatments that you see where people are like pulling things off of their lips and doing all the things?
No, I listen. Okay, so I am really honest with this. My lips are so dry. I have so many lip lines because I mean, one, let's normalize that. Okay, so let's
Okay,
normalize
thank you.
that is normal. I
Thank
feel
you.
like a lot of times you don't see that. It is normal. But I use just hydrating products all the time, like glosses for me. If I use anything matte and I have no top lip. So for me,
Mhm.
everything can look very disproportioned. So gloss is
Mhm.
usually what I go to, and I do recommend that because of the lip lines. But there's some really good lip treatments, like night treatments that are good. That POV Beauty, if you like Korean skincare, she has one that is so good. It's called Amp It, I believe. It's amazing. Laneige is cheaper. There's just so many different ones, but I will do that. Vaseline, honestly,
I live by it. I
Yeah.
cannot. I will. If you, the question, what would you take on a deserted island? It will literally be Vaseline because I would go crazy because my lips get so dry. I can't use chapstick formula, Burt's Bees formula. I can't use any of that. It just
Yeah.
sucks. It's almost like you
Mhm.
talked about your skin. That's just my lips. Whereas
Yeah.
my skin gets oily in like the T-zone. My lips are so crazy sensitive.
Yeah.
Like I won't put anything in them. Like no fillers, none of that, because I'm afraid that it'll just like, so I don't love it. This
Yeah.
is so
Yeah.
fun.
And I think it's normal. Yeah, I know. I love hearing like what everyone kind of like deals with because everyone's so different and what everyone sees as like an issue for them versus
Mhm.
like I see, right? It's just
Right.
funny. But I love it
Yes.
because you learn like Vaseline. My mom grew up with Vaseline, like that was her cure all for everything.
Yep.
She used it under her eyes, and my mom has the most amazing skin. She's like 75, and she would like coat her entire face in Vaseline. And
Yep.
literally, her skin is amazing. So I don't know if that was what it was, but
I've heard
yeah,
that before. That and like straight up old school oil of Olay.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen women and I'm like, please tell me. Like, I will ask an older woman, you have the most beautiful skin.
You're
What
like,
have you
what do you
done?
do? Yeah.
And she's like, oil of Olay or like Dove.
Yes, I
You
know.
know,
I
these
know.
very like basic products that are,
Yeah.
I don't know what the ingredients are, but not a lot of crap in them. And we need more of that.
We
What about,
simplify.
yeah, what about primer in like over 40? Does it differ than like maybe your Urban Decay all-nighter or what do you
So
think?
it really depends on your skin too. So if you have more oily
Mm,
skin, I definitely recommend different primers. I definitely think if you have oily skin, you should be using a primer. For dry skin, I don't think it's as big of a deal.
that makes sense.
But definitely like with oily skin, you want something a little more tacky. So your makeup kind
Mhm.
of has something to grip, right? Because a lot of times it's slipping, sliding, things like that.
Yeah.
So I like the Elf. Elf has a primer. It's a
Mhm.
like power grip primer. I love that one. It's like a dupe of milk, which it's way cheaper.
Mhm.
It's the exact same thing. But yeah, I don't feel like with dry skin, it's something that's a necessity. But I do think with oily skin, it's going to help keep your makeup on longer. And then setting spray is a must, in my opinion, for everyone. Before in the middle of your makeup, and then at the end. So
Okay. Got it. I've heard that before too. I forgot All Nighter's the setting spray, right? It's not
yeah, that one's a setting spray. And I don't love
Yes.
that one. That one I do not love at all.
Yeah.
It's
My
overrated.
hair girl told me to get it for when I was on the news. She's like,
Oh.
it'll help. I don't remember what she said. I didn't end up buying it. I just went to her and she sprayed my face because she did my hair for the news segment. So I was like, just bring it with you. I'm not buying it. So that's the only thing. I actually just use what is the Mario? It's very dewy. It's the green bottle. I don't know what it's called. It's like rosemary water, basically.
Is it like Badusky Mario?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I know.
Yeah. And it's not even a setting spray, but that's what I use.
Yeah.
It works.
Something that you liked. Yeah.
Yes. It makes you feel like it just is a nice little, it feels like hydrating. And I don't know if that's good or bad with this like T-zone. But it seems to work. But it's also funny. I had a skin reaction to eyeshadow for a while, and my entire lids became like red. My clients thought that I had eyeshadow on. They were so red, but I didn't have any makeup on. And it ended up being the primer I was using on my eyes. And my hair girl said, try aloe vera.
Yes. Aloe vera is awesome. And
amazing.
Primer too. That's
because it's tacky, like you said, and it was perfect. I need to go back and start using that again.
And it's
awesome. I know you can. You literally can get it out of the ground. Got a sunburn? Use it for that too. You know, I love. Okay, so speaking of like prep, talk about, and I know this is going to be different for each type of skin, but is there anything in regards to our skin care? I tell girls all the time, like, wash your freaking makeup off.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They don't, these girls. What is your advice? Because we have clients or listeners that are in their 20s, 30s, and then 40s, 50s. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your advice
So
on that?
ditch the makeup wipes. Like, don't use those. They're drying and they're so not good for your skin. I personally love like an oil cleanser or an oil type based makeup remover because one, you're not tugging at your skin. So that's really important when we're washing. And a lot of us, even if you are a little bit oily, sometimes using like a soap just gives more dullness to the skin. So oil cleansers or an oil balm are going to bring back all the like moisture to the face, and you're not having to tug at the skin. It's going to take off the makeup so nicely. Like I said, I'm into Korean skincare, so I love the serums. I was ruining my skincare barrier so bad because I was getting so many things sent to me. So I would try them and then I would report back to my audience, but it was ruining my skincare or my skin barrier. And I was literally like using retinol and all the things. And I am so like just not into that anymore. Everything's plant-based. Healing from the inside out is really important. So yeah, so Korean skincare, I love it because it's just, I had really bad rosacea, all the things. And the more I was like, using Western skincare just wants a quick fix, where Korean skincare is going to be a lot more like healing, and over time you're like bringing back everything to the skin. And so I think if you realize like all those harsh products, what they do, especially as we get older, and people will argue with me about that because everyone has a different opinion, which is totally fine. But I just feel like my skin, and I know other people that have kind of switched to Korean skincare, they just seen a big difference in just how glowy, and I half the time don't even wear makeup anymore just because it just feels moisturizing, glowy, and
I agree.
Evened. Like it's not red like it used to be, and speckly from all the rosacea because it's just healing. And I think it takes a little time. I mean, you have to have patience with Korean skincare, but you really see a bigger difference, and you're not just like ruining and drying out your skin to try to get, things to look good fast. So
yeah, I love it. I still haven't really figured out the process of putting it on because I bought everything. I bought what did I buy? I have the Medicube, the cleanser is amazing. I mean, you need just a little bit of it. And it's just so, it feels like it really gets everything off. I actually have a spray that's like an oil spray, and then I use that. And then I had the collagen gel. I had the little microfoliant. It like almost like feels like little pricklies in your skin. I don't know what that's called. I had a collagen moisturizer. I had a collagen serum. I bought everything.
Yeah,
I had the mask. Yeah, I have the mask that everyone's ripping off of their face. I bought that,
yeah.
but I can't stand that. I will wake up in the middle of the night and be like,
I can't do that.
yeah, just take it off. I have like these piles of just
On your
masks on
nightstand.
my nightstand. I'm serious. My dog's like, what's that?
That
It's
is so
hilarious.
funny.
But I swear by it. I
Yeah.
absolutely swear by it. And, I get Botox on my forehead. And since I started using that, I noticed that I don't need it as much because
Yeah.
my skin's staying moisturized. And
Yes.
I feel like that helps prolong the Botox
Yes.
process. I don't know if
No,
that's
I would
true.
agree with you. I know I do agree with you. And I think also water, like we don't talk about that enough, but like
Yep.
hydrating, right? Like, yes,
Yay.
like hydrating is really, really key because I think as we age too, that's a big problem is we don't drink enough water and we just want the skincare to do all the things, but that's another thing too.
No,
Sidebar.
I know we talk about water here all the time. Okay, quick question. So your décolletage, this area, someone told me when I was younger, treat it just like your face.
Yeah.
And I noticed that some of my friends have not done that and they're getting kind of the crepey. Anything else other than like moisturizing, sunscreen?
I do red light therapy. I like red light therapy. I
Oh,
have like red light mask. I have a little red light wand that I use on my face and then I bring it down here. So yeah, I
I
don't
have
know
a
what
red light.
I'm doing, but I love red light. So
Yeah, I have a Juve light.
yeah,
It's like this big, and then I could just
yeah,
put the glasses on and put it on my smart. See?
yeah.
I'm learning so much. I love it. Okay, this is so fun. What do you like? How do you deal with, like, you had talked about some people might find this controversial, but then you also have the people like making comments. Like, how do you deal with beauty standards that shame or ignore aging, and make you
Yeah.
feel like you're doing something wrong, just wanting to look great?
You know, I think the biggest thing I've done is talk about it. I think we're so quiet. Like so many, I think we're getting better. I really, really do. The 40-year-old late 30s to 50s, 60. I think we're getting better about standing up for ourselves. And I
Yep.
think so long society told us you're old, sit back, be quiet. I mean, think about when you were a little girl. I mean, for me, it was the same way. It's like you're being too loud.
Hmm.
Be
Being
quiet.
too
And
much.
so you're being too much. You're not enough. We hear this
Hmm.
over and over and over. So we kind of take on that role. So what I've done, and I feel like it's really empowered me to keep showing up, but it's also showing other women like, hey, you might be being told by someone you really love that you aren't enough or you're not beautiful or whatever.
Hmm.
So am I, but I'm getting it in a different way and you're not alone. And here's what you do. You don't sit back and you take it. So like I will literally make videos with the person's picture. I will put their everything up there. Because I'm like, listen, it's like coming to someone's house and
Hmm.
totally walking in and being like, I hate your couch. You
Right.
wouldn't, I would hope you wouldn't do that, right? And
Right.
so same thing. It's like you're coming to my page. You're making the choice to be a keyboard warrior. You're making the choice to be rude.
I'm gonna
I'm
call you out.
I'm gonna call you out because listen, I'm so done sitting back and being told what I should, what I am, when I'm not that,
Mhm.
when I'm not that. And I think that's the thing is like we need to empower other women to feel empowered. And if we
Mhm.
sit back and we allow other people to talk to us that way and we don't bring it to the forefront, then what is the point, in my opinion? Like we've got to be better. And
Yeah.
these people can't be better, then I'm gonna bring it out and I'm gonna say, like, hey,
You don't get to talk to me
come
that
here,
way.
this is what you're gonna get. And honestly, the more I've started doing that, the less comments I've gotten because
Mhm.
it's being put out there. I
Hey,
don't care.
there's a consequence to their behavior. Whereas
Yeah.
if we sit back, and this is why I created the mindset of matter, is because so many women for so long have lived in these roles of people pleasing, perfectionism, overachievement, and it has ruined parts of their lives because they're just putting so much into this. I'm only worthy if I do
Mhm.
X, Y, and Z. And a part of that is that people pleasing, be polite, be quiet, don't make a scene, don't be too emotional. It's like, fuck that. No, no
Exactly.
more. You're allowed to be seen. You're allowed to be heard. You're allowed to express yourself. You're allowed to be messy. You're
Yeah.
allowed to be vulnerable and say, this is me. I call
Yeah.
intimacy into me, you see. We
Love
need
that.
to share that more. And I talk about my struggles. Now, my struggles are a bit different when it comes to exercise and diet because I can get so obsessed and so restrictive because I've been the hard worker. That was a part of my DNA, but it became at the expense of myself when I started putting those same efforts into my body.
Yes.
And as a therapist, I saw that in the eating disorder world, but there was nowhere for gals like us to go to say, when I look at myself in the mirror and I'm at the lowest weight I've ever been and I'm still talking to myself in that way, like, what do I do? No one talked about that because everyone you saw online was, look how fit, look at my abs. And I'm like, yeah, look at my abs. In my brain, I'm like, you're fat, you're disgusting. Like, go starve yourself more.
Yeah.
And so I love that you've created this in regards to, you know, beauty and like, I'm going to say it's mental health too, right? You're like a therapist and you don't like realize it. And it's just that empowerment, like you said, and giving us a stance and saying, we're not going to be, we're cutting off these intergenerational, you
Yeah.
know, I guess patterns. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Cutting it off.
I've done posts where like if I'm upsetting you, then I'm doing my job, right?
Yeah.
Because that really is what it is. This to me, my job is to put things out that might upset you, that might be controversial, but hey, let's have a conversation. Because
Yep.
how many times have we had to sit back and just been told what we should do? Like I was thinking when you were just talking, I'm like, we had Weight Watchers, we had all of these things like growing up where we were taught to restrict ourselves. I remember like I went through the same kind of thing. I played college tennis and I had a coach that was like, hey, you look like you're gaining weight. Like, how much have you gained? I was like 90 pounds, at the
Oh my
time.
gosh.
And, it's so connected. Like, I think we were taught, at least our generation, maybe. I don't know. I still think it probably is a problem, but I do think it's healthier. We're talking about it more. But back then it was like, you could be like you said your lowest weight, but you're looking in the mirror and you're literally your brain, it doesn't matter. I think I'm all over the place, but I
Okay.
think that like it doesn't matter how much weight you lose or how great other people think you look. If you aren't here, if you are not happy with who you are, it does not matter. Like you have
Nothing
to
matters.
know. And so it really is coming to love who you truly are. And that is a lot of work. That takes a lot
Hmm.
of work. And we don't talk about that enough, right?
No.
It's just like you're beautiful because you're skinny or you have this color hair or you wear cute outfits, like whatever. No, that's not really where it stems from because those girls feel insecure as someone who, we
Maybe
over.
be in a bigger body or whatever
Yes,
that looks
like
like.
it's the
Hmm.
same thing and it's so sad to me, but I think we grew up in such a diet culture and where men were allowed to talk like that too to
Yeah.
us. Like I was thinking back to like Howard Stern and all the different things we grew up with, right? Or like
Yes.
girls on a scale on a talk show.
We were the
That's
generation of girls gone wild. Like
yes.
that was like
Like
a
Paris Hilton and
prestigious thing.
Corey, like yes,
Yes.
like we watched all of that and it was normalized to us, which is so crazy,
Hmm.
and then we like hold on to that. And I think
Absolutely.
I don't know where we got on that, but
I love that. No, I love it because again, my slogan is what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. If we're
100%.
talking about makeup, because I've been in situations where I've, redid something about myself because I wasn't feeling whole inside. So I just did something on the
Yeah.
outside to try to
Yeah.
make up for that,
Yeah.
whether it was my hair, makeup, clothes, like you said. And it was really about me taking care of what I was saying here because it didn't matter. And I
Yeah.
think that is so important for us to speak about. That is in my entire platform. And I'm
Yeah.
happy to hear, I love finding more women who are on the
Yeah.
team. And that
Yeah.
is you. I love that. What do you wish more beauty experts or influencers understood about the woman in like even going to perimenopause? Because I know that, with estrogen fluctuations, our skin is changing. We see more autoimmune issues come up. So even things like eczema and things like that increasing. What should we know, or what do you wish more people talked about for us girlies going through it?
I think it goes back to just being real. Like the let's talk about it, like what's actually going on instead of just seeing a filter. Once again, I'm still seeing it. It drives me insane. It's like, yes,
Nani.
it's maybe not the filter that we just used to have, but it's still a lot of skin smoothing and different things. And
Hmm.
it's so minute that like we don't always even notice it, especially because we're so used to scrolling. So then our brain kind of thinks that what's wrong with us. And it really goes back to that. So I think, especially in the perimenopause space, a lot of us are already feeling anxious. We're already feeling depressed. We're already feeling like we've lost who we are. And then to have someone telling us all the time what the beauty standards are, it can get really exhausting. I mean, I get exhausted and I do this. So,
Right.
I mean, if I see one more hack that's like this crazy freaking hack, I'm like, what, why should makeup be this complicated, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's what happens is we get to this age and we're like, why am I even wearing makeup at this age? Because I'm so tired of it always having to be this like drawn out. Like, have you seen the videos
Dramatic thing.
people like make fun of like they're doing these elaborate hacks and then
Oh
they're like,
yeah.
and then but then they're making fun of it and they're because it's taking like 40 minutes to do this one like lifted cheek and I'm
That's
like,
because yeah, they do like where they're like drawing
like
this
all the
way.
lines and then they put the
Yes.
concealer and I'm like, what in the actual? Like no one
Yeah.
has time for
No.
that. So I think beauty, honestly, it comes back to being real. I really do. Like any
Mm-hmm.
beauty influencer, just be real. Like
Mm-hmm.
I love the beauty influencers that show their acne and their
Mm-hmm.
blemishes and their real skin texture or how your skin texture looks in different lights. Like
Right.
studio lights versus like right now I'm in a dimmer light. Like my skin's gonna look different. Like that is normal. You go out
Mm-hmm.
into the, sun straight on, your makeup is going to show more texture. It is normal, but we don't show that. We just show this like smoothed out. This is exactly what you're making. No, like we have.
No.
I had someone write me the other day, and they're like, "You have lines on your face, and you're okay with that. And how do you become okay with that?" And I'm like, "We had lines on our face since we were like 10. Like my
Right.
daughter, she crinkles her forehead. She has lines. That is
Mm-hmm.
normal. So why have we lost that? You know what I mean?" And so
Mm-hmm.
I think it comes back to just being real and talking
Mm-hmm.
about it.
Well, and
Talking
like you said, accepting, like remembering where those lines came from.
is, yes.
You
Like,
know.
and yes, are there days I look in the mirror and I'm like, I'm getting old? Yes, that's normal too.
Yes,
Like,
I love getting old. And that's the thing is I love getting older and because and I might be making this story up in my head, but because I still have the confidence because of the work I've done internally, I
mhm.
feel like I almost look younger because of
Mm.
that. Because I take care of
It's just love
myself.
who you are.
Yes.
Yes.
And I take care of
Yes.
myself inside and out. And that
Yes.
truly, I love telling people how old I am. Because like, what? I bet you get it too.
I
Like,
know.
no
I
way.
do.
And I'm like, yeah, I
Yes.
am.
I love
And you
starting
can do
with
this
that.
too.
Yes, I love always starting with that because I feel like it's like, I'm telling you, like, because I don't care. Like, I'm actually happy to be here. Like, I've learned so much along the way, and I wouldn't want to be 20 again because
Yeah.
that person was very insecure and that person didn't love who they are. And I
Mhm.
think, yeah, I love aging because I think, yes, there's hard parts to it. Definitely hard. And I talk about that. But I also think, like, I love who I've become.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. I love it. So talk to us about your book. Congratulations.
I have it
Um,
right
I
here.
love it. Girl, wear your lipstick, right?
Girl, put
The
on your
world,
lipstick. The world needs you.
I
Yes,
love
it's
it.
like it's on Amazon. It's anywhere online. But I wrote it because kind of for everything we're talking about. Like it's just basically like I wanted to tell my story of how I started online, how someone who did not feel seen, how someone who never believed they were enough could actually go through the process of learning that they are enough. And
Mhm.
that's kind of that's what I've always said. It's you are enough. And I have a bracelet that says that.
Mhm.
Um, because I never believed it. I mean, like my whole life, I never believed that I was enough. I always had to do things in order to be seen as enough. I had to be the best athlete, or I had to be the best at school, or
Yep.
that's how I was seen when I was always enough. And I never knew that
Mhm.
about myself. And so the whole book is like how to become authentically you and it's based on it's geared towards women in their 40s, but really I have women that are younger that read it and they're like, oh, this is awesome. So there's a lot of journaling in it. There's a lot of like, it's not just a mindset. I didn't want a mindset book that was just like, hey, this is what I did. It's actually like, here's how you can take these steps to
Yeah,
implement that too. So yeah, it was a fun
that's
process.
great.
I always wanted to write a book. In fact, I was going to be an English major.
Oh.
Um, I had an English professor that said, you will never be a writer. And he told, yes, right?
Showed
Where's the
him.
book? That's what I want to say. No, I'm just being.
I love that.
But and he did not believe in me. And I, at that point, was like, oh, maybe I'm not a writer, but I always wanted to write a book. And I was approached to write it. And it was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. Like
It's very hard.
a lot of tears, A lot of tears, a
I've wrote
lot
a
of,
book as well, but mine was
so
like a
yeah,
50-page little self-help like workbook.
yeah.
Yes, this is very
It's
short.
hard,
It's
huh? I
hard.
mean, it's people. I didn't realize. I was like, I'm kind of one of those people though that say yes to things and then I figure out how to do it, along the
Same.
way. And I
I
remember
pull
being,
out my hair a little bit along the way.
but I'll figure it out kind of person. And then I started this and I was like, what was I thinking? Like this
Hmm.
is a lot harder than I had thought, but it was so worth it. And honestly, therapy for me to kind of figure out like
Yep.
traumas that I had been through or like questioning the situations I had gone through. And yeah, so it's really fun. And I've had a lot of feedback of women just loving it and saying how much it's helped them. And that to me is truly like what it's about, like I said in the beginning. So
Yes, and everyone, you can find it on Amazon, you said.
anywhere online. So it's like
Okay.
Target, Noble, anywhere online.
We'll
But
link it in
yes,
the
yeah.
show notes for you because
Thank
I want
you.
everyone to pick it up. I love that for you. What else? What's next on the horizon for you? Is it just continue content? Or are there things that are coming up that you can talk about or anything like that?
Right now, my biggest focus is being a mom. I mean, honestly,
Love.
like, yes, all of this is here. I'm still doing all the things, but my oldest is leaving for college. So I'm
Like
kind of,
this summer?
yes, like in
Oh,
a month. I
uh-oh.
know. It's so sad. Like, I'm so happy for him. And he's going to go to Washington. So I'm in Idaho. He's going to
Mhm.
Washington. So he's going to be nice and far away from me. He's super ready. I'm not quite. He's my baby.
Your
But
baby.
so yeah, so I'm kind of in this weird stage of parenting where like I have one leaving, but I've got two teenagers at home. And
Mhm.
I feel like that's really kind of my big focus right now is just making sure that I'm raising good humans and I'm giving them all my time, but also still doing the things that I love to do. So right now that's like been my biggest project. It's
Yeah.
like bringing
Well,
that.
just listening to you speak, I mean, I think if all of our mothers had the heart, the awareness, the experiences that you have, we would all be less addicted to things. Food,
You're so
alcohol, social
sweet.
media, all the things.
You're sweet.
So that was my compliment.
Thank
I
you.
always say
I
the
love
reason I
that.
said that, well, the reason I said that is everyone's like, why isn't was it Gen Z not drink very much? I go, because they're all medicated. They all went to therapy. We didn't.
Yes,
We
it's so
looked for
true.
food,
Yeah.
we looked for achievement, we looked for
Yeah.
alcohol, and that's how we coped. So
It's so true.
I,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
I'm so excited for your kiddos and just knowing, you have a daughter and even your boys, like being able to see that
Yeah.
women have a voice and they can be strong and loving and motherly and have that balance of both. Like, what a wonderful thing for them. I talk a lot about families and parents. Oh, and I wanted to say another thing about your book. When I tell people about their worth, and like you said, it was always there, I always compare it to a baby. Like when they're born, they
Yeah.
can't do anything. They
Mhm.
can't, win a tennis match. They can't get an A. They can eat, sleep, cry, and go to the bathroom. And
Yeah.
that's it. And they're the most worthy little creatures, the
Yeah.
most worthy little beings. And that worth never leaves you.
Yeah.
It's in your existence. So I like to compare a lot of like with families and everything because I'm a family therapist. So it helps.
I love that. I said that in my book, actually. It's interesting because as a child,
Oh.
I feel like we as a child, we already like you're saying, like we are worthy. Like we don't really question that, I feel like, even
Mm.
from a young age. But somewhere along the line, we start questioning it. And
Yes.
I mean, going through this book, I remember like one of the first times that I ever questioned it. And that was really therapeutic to go back and like
Mhm.
remember that. Cause I think we dig that real down deep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
It's
and it was the first time
important.
I felt judged or the first time that I, didn't meet someone's expectations. And it's all those things that add up. And it doesn't have to be like this huge trauma. Like we all
Mm-mm.
go through these things that are trauma to us.
Yep.
Whether you're like the best mom or the best that you try to keep the best situation, everyone deals with trauma differently. And I know you know that being a counselor and a therapist,
Mhm.
like that is huge. But I think sometimes remembering that is really powerful because you realize like now that I'm 44, I look back and I'm like, that never determined anything for me. Like I've
Right.
always been enough. But you have to really go back and visit that. And I don't know. You know all those things, but
No,
yeah.
absolutely. You have to. I always say we can't change what we don't understand.
Yes.
And being able to understand it, that doesn't mean we have to necessarily go through this huge like process of it, but even just something of writing it out, making the connections like, oh, I'm not unsafe anymore, or I'm not, I'm not needing to beg for love anymore. I'm okay. Because I like to say the same thing is it's not, trauma isn't what happens to us. It's a story we make up about ourselves about what happened to us.
Oh, that's good.
Right? Because you and I could go through the same car accident. We'll just use that as an easy thing. And I have severe trauma in cars, and maybe you don't. You're going to be like, that was scary, and maybe a little rattled. But because I have this history of that, I'm going to have a different response.
Totally different.
Right. Or even I worked in child crimes with the Phoenix PD with the high profile child abuse cases in part of my clinical career. And people would always ask me, are these kids ruined? Because it was like the worst of the worst that people did. And I said, the difference between two children are the support they get from their parents. So one girl had her parents there every week. They were in session. They did everything to a T. And she was relatively unscathed, if you will.
Wow.
But the kids in foster care who don't have a relationship with a parent, they're moving from home to home, or the parent doesn't believe them, they keep the person in the house, is going to have a very different story than the girl whose parents showed up. So it's just like, it's the story. Yeah, it's the story we make up about ourselves.
Everything is a story too that we tell ourselves.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love it. This is great. I can talk to you for freaking
I know, it's so fun.
Okay, now random question, because this is how I know. Do you watch reality TV at all?
Oh yeah.
Okay, what do you watch?
So right now, I just finished the Mormon Wives one, and now
I
I'm
haven't done
Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
Started that yesterday.
Yeah.
Love that. I haven't watched this season of Mormon Wives. I'm just getting caught up on Love Island, which is
Yes, all my teens are like talking about that. I haven't got into that. Well, I haven't gotten into this season. I've watched the seasons before.
Yes. Okay, good. Now we're best friends. Great. Awesome.
Yes, totally.
Tell people, I'm going to link all your stuff, but tell people where they can find you.
You can find me at Lauren L. Hale on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and then laurenhalebeauty.com is my website as well.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much. This is like the best. Thank you guys for listening. Please share this, because you know that you and your girlfriends need to hear all the things that Lauren shared with us. If you like this podcast, as always, make sure you're following or subscribing wherever you're listening to our voices. And if you love this podcast, a nice little short 5-star rating and review is amazing. And Lauren and I are going to leave you the same way we do every single week, reminding you what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. Bye-bye.